An interim report released in 1979 by Unesco was targeted by the American Newspaper Publishers Association and the American Society of Newspapers Editors. While these organizations took issues with some of the early proposals, including right of reply and press councils, they also were troubled by the phrase New World Information and Communication Order, seeing it as a dog vessel for the use of government propaganda and the guise of information flow balance. Next, let me discuss with you about the developments of the NWICO. The debate on the New World Information and Communication Order that started in the 1970s reflected criticism about non-equitable access to information and media imperialism. The NWICO saw the United Kingdom and the United States back out of Unesco until 1997 for the UK and 2003 for the United States. In between 1990 to 2000, a switch occurred globally, carried by the internet, that contributed to bring more equity to the available content. This was supported by the extension of the media powers to developing countries such as Mexico, Korea, Kenya, and Nigeria. By the adoptions of protectionist measures in regards to the free market by Western countries like Canada and France. And with the rise of satellite broadcasting as a transnational means for non-Western countries, still evidence suggests global media has a strong bias towards the global north. Studies estimate around 80% of international news travels through Reuters, the Agence France Presse, United Press International, and the Associated Press. Only around 20% of this news focuses on developing countries. In the decades following the NWICO debates, little changed in this regard as a study on stories relating to Africa in the New York Times and the Washington Post showed in 2000. In this study of 89 articles are lacked sufficient contexts linking the West to Africa, and 25 of them were negative in content. Given such a heritage, it can be argued that little in NWICO was in fact new. Its essence was made up of old ideas and established principles which were just brought together under a new umbrella. For example, the problem of global imbalance of information structures was recognized by the United Nations long before any great debate on NWICO. The UN's Economic and Social Council, they addressed the problem as early as in around about 1961. 1 year later, the UN General Assembly expressed its concerns over the fact that 70% of the population of the world lack adequate information facilities and are thus denied effective enjoyment of the right to information, and invited the governments of developed countries to cooperate with less developed countries in connections with this program for the development of independent national information media with due regard for the culture of each country. Moreover, as early as in 1952, a UN General Assembly resolution considered that it is essential for a proper development of public opinion in underdeveloped countries that independent domestic information enterprises should be given facilities and essences in order that they may be enabled to contribute to the spread of information, to the development of national culture, and to the international understanding, and continued that the time has arrived for the elaboration of a concrete program and plan of action in this respect. Different issues were suggested to talk about. Issues of space communication were not only the only challenges to the old information order. The decolonizations became recognized in the 1960s not only as an independence movement in the Third World, but also as a set of principles in international relations, ultimately leading to the declaration on the new international economic order by the UN General Assembly in 1974, followed by the Charter of Economic Rights and Duties of States by the same supreme body of the international community in 1974. Parallel to this development, the concept of human rights was evolving from the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights to a more definite set of principles codified as a part and parcel of international law in the International Covenant on Civil and Political and Political Rights, in the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. These covenants, adopted in 1966, had a direct bearing upon information and communication in a manner quite far from the simple free flow doctrine. The same applies to regional conventions on human rights adopted in Western Europe as early as in 1950, in the Americans in 1969, and in Africa in 1981. Apart from a progressive codification of human rights at large, the particular aspects of realism and apartheid got their specific international conventions, which contain articles with specific references to mass communication. Other instruments again introduced a link between peace and international understanding on the one hand, and on the content of education, culture, and communication on the other hand. The journalist operates in the contemporary world within the framework of a movement towards new international relations in general and a new information order in particular. This new order, understood as an integral part of the new international economic order, which is aimed at the decolonizations and democratization of the field of information and communication, both nationally and internationally, on the basis of peaceful coexistence among peoples and with full respect for their cultural identity. The journalist has a special obligation to promote the process of democratization of international relations and the field of information, in particular by safeguarding and fostering peaceful and friendly relations among states and peoples. The concept of NWICO was compressed here by 3 sentences only, but they pretty well cover its essence, and it is worth nothing that the speaker here or the non-governmental professionals through their representative organization, who in many respects were more outspoken and uncompromising than respective governmental bodies, such as UNESCO had been. In fact, the NWICO concept articulated in these professional principles was practically identical with the norm version of the concept, although most of the consultative club members came from outside the norm circle. This shows how pervasive and timely the concept was, at least until the 1980s. I think this is enough for today. Uh, Thank you so much for watching my lecture. Kindly subscribe my channel so that whenever I upload a next video lecture, you will get it easily. Thank you once again and best of luck.